There you go. Hey, hi, happy Friday. I am very, very excited today. Ronnis, tell me exactly how to pronounce your last name again.
Oher.
Oher. So, thank you for being here. And you have a very unique and special gift, and you make life maps. Why don't you start out by just telling us what life maps are?
Yes, and it's so interesting because to me, it's the perfect name for it. It is an actual custom, hand-drawn geographical map that tells the life story of an individual, a couple, or even a company. And it looks like this.
Oh,
So I do them with numbers like this for like a 60th birthday or a 60th anniversary. I also do them with initials. I don't happen to have one of those handy, but I also do them with photographs. This was a wedding one.
so
And
nice.
then I do them with special designs. I love this. This was for a 50th birthday, and I said to his mom, do you have his silhouette from when he was a little boy? Because wouldn't that be fun to put his life story inside his little boy face? And
I love that.
His mom actually framed them side by side, the map along with the original silhouette. And so that was sweet. And then here's just one more. This was for a woman that was a college professor, and she was turning 80. And so I had the professor standing at the blackboard. So I try to match the design, either their initial or the number, if that's a major milestone year for an anniversary or birthday, or find some picture that represents either their vocation or a hobby. And so it's just really fun. The more personal I can make them, the better I like it.
And so tell me about your process a little bit.
It's actually really simple. And what I do when someone's interested is I actually have them have a phone conversation with me so I can explain the process. So it just involves finding out how it all works. And I explain to people the cost. And then I explain exactly what kind of information I want. Because when they understand that to begin with, they send me the right things from the beginning. And we get exactly the interesting information. I'm different than a lot of people that do custom things. I don't use a questionnaire because questionnaires capture factual things, names, dates, places. I want to go way beyond that. That's information that everybody knows. I'm trying to capture what makes them the unique individual that they are and celebrate them for that. I always say we're all unique. We all have a unique story, and we all deserve to be celebrated just for being ourselves. And so when there's a great story, I don't want to have it on a questionnaire because no one wants to sit there and write out a whole story. They're not going to do it.
No.
So you just send me a list and maybe just say, oh, a funny story about our trip to Montreal. Right. And then I'll know when I'm interviewing you, we do another follow-up call to interview. I'm going to say, okay, what happened on that trip to Montreal? Tell me about that. And I'm going to keep asking questions till I get to the real story, because that's what makes the map interesting.
So I love that because it's more you really doing a deep dive into the life of whomever you're doing it for.
And to me, that's the only thing worth doing.
Right.
To me, if it's that surface level, okay, I'll give you one example of how I would dive down.
Absolutely.
So a woman comes and she's doing a map for her husband. And at some point I will say, who's your husband's best friend? Because I want to include relationships.
Right.
Maybe she tells me, oh, his best friend is Bob. Well, if that's all she tells me, I can put Bob on the map. I can have Bob Boulevard or Best Friend Beach with a sign that says Bob, but it doesn't say anything about their relationship. So my next question would be, how does your husband know Bob? You know, they could be childhood friends, high school friends, work colleagues. And she says, oh, they were fraternity brothers. I say, oh, did anything interesting happen to them when they were at school? That would be a good memory. And she says, oh, yeah. One time they stole a stop sign and they got arrested. And Bob's dad had to come down in the middle of the night and bail them out of jail.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, now there's an interesting story. And I know that when Bob comes over and his friend shows him the map, they're going to be reliving that. Oh, remember how ticked off your dad was when we woke him up and he had to get dressed and bring the money? Much more interesting than Bob.
Absolutely. Tell me now, what would that look like on the map?
Well, I probably would have either drawn or get a picture of a stop sign and jail bars.
Okay.
And a little dollar sign for bail money.
Okay.
And that would be enough for them to know what the story was.
And how would you place that? Because you said something about Bob Boulevard. So how do you?
I arrange, I try to arrange everything chronologically in someone's life.
Okay.
So I try as much as I can to let them start in one part of the map and kind of work their way around so they can see everything and it makes sense.
So it's not all over. That makes total sense.
Yeah, that's just too chaotic. But people don't realize that they don't even realize that it's chronological. And so people will say to me, oh, my dad found things days later and said, oh, I never noticed that before.
Okay.
Because their eyes were just going.
So you sort of put it in and then they follow the map around the person's life to wherever
and most of the time, sometimes there's roads, sometimes there's rivers, there's mountains and forests and swamps and deserts. And all of those are named for things that happen to the person, not necessarily in a swamp or a desert, but I like to be alliterative. So, like I'm working on one now where they had 3 dogs that all had the same name and a different dog. So it's the doggy desert, and then we have little signs with the dogs' names on it. So it's just a cute way to put in things from people's lives. Sometimes I do a movie theater and the title of the movie will bring up a really cute memory. Like I did one for a guy who was 98 and I asked his daughter if he ever did anything funny. And she said he owned a gas station in Ohio and loved cars and especially convertibles. And on the occasional time they would take a big family trip, he would buy a new car. So they go to California, he gets a brand new Cadillac convertible. She said, but the whole way he's complaining to my mom that his hair keeps slapping him in the face. And she said, my mom said, well, just do what I do, wear a hairnet. Oh. So she said he looked like Ruth Buzzy from Laugh-In with the big knot here and pulled back behind his head. And she said he looked ridiculous, but he was happy because his hair wasn't in his face. So she said, we stopped to get gas. And this had to have been back in the 50s when everything was full serve. So while they're filling up the car and checking his oil and wiping his windshield, he goes in to talk to the owner because he's a gas station owner too. So he comes out a while later, gets in the car, turns to his family and says, that guy wasn't very friendly. Well, they all burst out laughing and they say to him, well, take a look in the mirror because he's still wearing the hairnet.
Oh my God.
So on his map, I did a little movie theater marquee that was called the Cadillac Convertible Cinema. And the movie was Hairnet Horror.
Oh my God, I love that.
So I know that when the other kids see it, they're going to all go, oh, remember that trip when Dad wore the hairnet? And it just brings back the memory in just a sweet, funny way.
And you know what I'm loving about this is it's very upbeat.
Yes.
We get to the end of the lives and people who you want to talk about a legacy and a story. It's often not so cheery, but the way you're doing it you're sort of coaching to get the fun stuff out there. So we're not going to just say, I regret that my XYZ and
but I also do put information that might not be pleasant because often what happens is maybe a couple had a child who died and the person giving them the map will sometimes say, well, let's not mention that. And my reaction is, you think Mom and Dad forgot about that child?
Yeah, no.
So I will draw a little angel and put their name and their birthday on there. I said, they're a member of the family.
That's right.
Do not discount that. It's not like we're focusing on the negative, but they have to be included.
That's right. I think it would be awkward. I'm trying to get the right word without it there.
Yes.
It would be an obvious elephant in the room.
That's what I think. And so sometimes I have to convince people to let me put it in there. Like I did a wedding one where the husband was a firefighter and had been injured he was in a warehouse trying to get to an alarm that was going off. And he was on a ledge 40 feet above the ground, and he was inching and it was dark. And so he was trying to get to where the alarm was. And he didn't see, because it was dark, that the ledge ended, and he stepped off and fell 40 feet.
Oh my God.
And wound up in a body cast and many, weeks or months of rehab. And so the woman that he married, she knew him from the gym where they both went. And so she had been visiting him. And so when he was recovering at home, there were still many things he couldn't do. And he asked her if she would move in to help him. And that's when the romance started. Well, I had like body cast beach and something. And it was her mother that ordered it. She said, "Oh, no, we don't want to mention that." And I said, "Why not?" And she said, "Because whenever it comes up," he goes, "That's in the past."
Right.
Said, it's a piece of their story. It's how they got together. It's not like we're doing the whole map about his accident.
Right.
So I did work on her and got her to agree to let me put those things in the map because I really thought they belonged.
I love that. And so how long does it take you to do one of these?
Well, it just depends on how busy I am and how big the map is. I usually ask, please, to give me at least 4 to 6 weeks lead time if you can. I've done them in shorter if I have the time and can do it. But I don't want either of us to feel...
Oh, good. I'm glad your dog barked, because I've got the landscapers, vacuum cleaners, all kinds of noises going on.
Yeah. Well, he hears somebody. It's my brother's dog. I'm babysitting. And so when he hears someone in the hall, he goes crazy. I don't want either of us to feel stressed out about meeting the deadline, particularly when people are giving them at a party. And so they have to have them that day. So I say start several months ahead of time. Like even for a 50th anniversary, what's going to happen in the next few months that's going to outweigh what already happened 50 years?
Right.
You're not going to be missing a critical piece. You're just not. So they're lovely. People love them. Mostly I do them for birthdays and anniversaries. That's what most people request. But I've done a lot of weddings. I've done a lot of retirements. I do graduations, bat mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs, and I've done memorials. And so it's a lovely thing because sometimes I meet people and they say, "Oh, my mom would have loved this, but she passed." And I say, "You know what? You do it for you. It's your memories of your mom." And earlier you mentioned legacy, and I wanted to make a comment about that. A few years ago, someone actually asked me, "What would you like your legacy to be?" And I said, I would like that, because I think these become treasured family keepsakes. Mm-hmm. And you can pass them down through the generations. So maybe someone does it for their parents' 50th anniversary, and the grandkids know them, but their kids won't.
That's right.
The map, and the map has everything on the map has a little story behind it. And so you can even explain, or even if you did one and your children never met your parents, you can still explain all the stories about them. And that keeps their memory lively. And I would hope that several generations down, that this map has been passed down, and maybe a little boy is shown his great-great-grandfather's map, and he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, my great-great-grandpa liked fishing. I like fishing." And they're going to see a connection to someone that came before them in the family. To me, that would be the best.
That is a wonderful legacy to have. And I think this is a wonderful gift for families, everyone, for mankind, for the community.
One of the reasons I think, actually my top reason of why I think it's a great gift, is because we don't always see ourselves clearly. We're very critical of ourselves and don't recognize a lot of our own skills and talents. For me, I know if I didn't have to work hard to achieve something, I don't really give myself credit. If something comes naturally to me, I discount that. That's not important. But when multiple people compliment me on the same thing about myself, I have to go, oh, then I guess that must be true. And I should be happy about that and celebrate that about myself. So when you give someone a life map, they get to see themselves through the eyes of the people who love them and maybe get a different appreciation of why they're so special.
What a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's just, this is wonderful. I am definitely going to do one for when the, for the right person.
Find the right occasion. Yes.
Yes. So, how would people get in touch with you?
So they either can, I have a website, which is www.lifemaps.biz, B-I-Z, and there's a contact form there where you can write to me. I have my personal Facebook page, and I have my business page, which is LifeMaps, the story of a lifetime,
Okay.
on Facebook. And so you can contact me through there. And a lot of my posts that I do on Facebook, I always say to people, if you want more information, schedule a time to talk to me. And I usually include a link to my scheduler so that you can just go and pick a time. We set up like at the most 30 minutes so that I can explain the process, the cost, and exactly the information that I'm going to want. And so that's the great first step.
That's great, because everybody can remember LifeMaps. You just Google that.
Yes, you'll find it. I had a woman actually that contacted me many years after she met me. And she was living in, she had a Chicago phone number, but she turned out she was living in Baltimore. And she said to me, I met you at an art fair, and I thought one day I'm going to have a great occasion to use this for. So then she said, I moved to Baltimore 8 years ago, and I got married, and now my husband's turning 40. And I thought, oh, I'll do one of those life maps. And she said, and then I couldn't find your information. So I Googled you. And I said, well, then you must have remembered the name LifeMaps. She said, I did. And there you were.
There you go. LifeMaps. One last little question.
Sure.
Can you give us, I'm sure the price is different depending on, and I don't want to nail you down.
No, that's okay. There's 5 different size maps, from an 8x10 at the smallest to a poster size at the biggest. And they're actually, for what they are, in terms of the amount of time that I take to do them and the fact that they're hand-drawn, they're actually very reasonably priced. They start at $300 for the smallest, and they go up to $1,350 for the largest. So people will choose. It's interesting. Some people choose the size based on their budget. Say, this is what I can spend, and they'll choose that size. And then other people will say, the money isn't my issue. Let me see how much information I gather, and then we'll see what size that fits, and I'm fine with that. And so however people want to do it is fine with me. It's just the smaller the map, the less items that you get illustrated on the map. So it's just hard when you're doing a 90th birthday to distill that down to 20 things.
Right. No.
A small one, but for some people that's all they can do.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. And that's very affordable. It's not something, especially if a family is doing it.
Yeah, you get together and share the cost for it.
Yes. Well, I am so glad that you were able to do this.
I appreciate you inviting me to come.
I can't wait till you do one for me. I got to figure out when and where it'll come to me. The universe will bring
yes, it will.
But I will also suggest it to my clients, their families.
Yep.
Because I think they would love it.
People who get them love them. I did one for a guy, his wife and daughters gave him one for his 70th birthday. And he wrote me such a beautiful testimonial, a tribute. And so when I wanted to do a video, I contacted him and said, do you mind if we come to your house and record a video? And he said he was happy to help me. So he said to me, my wife and daughters remembered things I had totally forgotten about. He said, I was so overcome, I actually started to cry.
Yes.
And so I always say a life map will bring a smile, but perhaps a tear from a memory that you really treasure that you may have forgotten about. And so it can be very emotional for people.
Absolutely. I just love this. And as in my work as well, I'm always, what can I give someone who's 90?
Correct.
Give someone who's 85.
They don't need stuff, and in some cases they have enough money, they buy themselves whatever they want.
Yeah, and they don't, certainly most of them do not want stuff at all.
We're trying to get rid of stuff as we get older.
So there is no more beautiful gift than this. I am thrilled to have had you on, and I can't wait to get to know you better and look at some of those life maps more.
All right, closely. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.